Now the monkey and the puma were never the best of friends. The monkey was small, wiry, wily, a trickster and a joker. And the puma was strong, sleek, but not as clever as the monkey. And the monkey would always make the puma look like a fool in front of all of his friends. So the puma would make sure that he was never in the monkey's presence. Now, it so came about that the puma was hungry, and the puma had placed an idea inside of his head that he would try and go and eat some of the fat sheep that lived on the other side of the river. If it couldn't have the monkey as a friend, then it would choose any of the other animals that were there. Now, it so happened that the stag was walking proud with his great horns upon his head, and the puma sidled up to him and said, "Oh, hello, my friend stag. Would you wish to drink some creamy sheep's milk? I know the farmer very well, and he will allow us to have as much sheep's milk as we would wish to drink. Would you wish to come with me?" The stag couldn't believe his luck. Here he was, the puma, almost like the king of the jungle, asking him to be his friend and to go and drink some sheep's milk. It was an offer that he was not going to refuse. There he was with his great antlers upon his head, striding about with all of his friends, with the puma by his side, talking to him as if he was his best friend in all of his life. The puma padded and pawed his way along by the side of this great stag, smiling to himself all of the while. He had loved walking by the side of the puma, to be regarded as the puma's best friend, his shoulders high, his antlers tall upon his head, and with all of his friends envying him. He wondered how long it would be before he got to drink some of the creamy sheep's milk. It was when they found themselves further and further away from his friends that he was starting to become tired, and the trees were darker, and he found himself far away from all of his friends. And now he started to question the puma, question him why it was taking so long to get to find the creamy sheep's milk. Oh yes, now he had travelled far away from all of his friends, and all he could see was the darkness of the trees all around him. And he did question the puma. He said, "When are we going to get to have this creamy sheep's milk that you promised me?" The puma smiled to himself. "My dear friend, at the other side of this river is the farmer's fields, and that's where you shall have the creamy milk. Now, I know that this river is not that deep, so why don't you go on ahead?" If the truth were to be told, the puma had never been to this part of the river before, and he did not know whether it was shallow or deep. And he was sending the stag with his great high horns upon his head to go into the water. As it happened, the water was deep, and the stag was almost swept away to the far side of the river, and it was only by trying so hard that he got to the other side of the river, and the puma went across upon some stones. The stag was tired, the stag was frightened and could barely whimper. When are we going to have that creamy sheep's milk? My dear stag, it is not much further. But the puma knew that it was a lot further, and still they travelled through all of the trees on the far side of the river. And when they could hear some sheep bleating in the distance, it was then that the puma said this: My dear stag, perhaps we should rest in a tree. And you being a stag with great horns upon your head, I'm not expecting you to climb right to the top of the tree. But what you should do is perhaps rest in the lower branches, and I shall sleep at the top of the tree. For I am a puma, and I am more than used to climbing trees. And so it was. The stag that had travelled so far through all of the trees and had swum across the river and nearly been drowned, rested in the lower branches of the tree and fell fast asleep. But the puma waited until he could hear the stag's snores, and he crept and crawled right down the tree and went to the farmer's field, not to get some creamy milk, but to feed upon the flesh of the sheep. For that had been his purpose all along. All the puma really wanted to do was to go and feed upon the sheep, and he had not been given permission by the farmer, and he had never ever any intention of giving the stag some creamy sheep's milk. In fact, when he captured and killed the sheep, he kept a bowl of its blood, and when he slunk and slithered, crept and crawled all the way back to the tree, he made sure that he got to the topmost branches, high above the stag, with his sharp horns upon his head, and dripped the blood all around the stag, on his mouth and chin and cheeks and on his hooves, and threw the blood all over his body. Now, the stag, in his sleep, thought that the rain must have fallen down. But when the farmer found that one of his sheep was gone, he saw the puma and said, "You must have stolen one of my sheep and killed it." But the puma looked as if there had never been a lie that had passed his lips and said, "My dear farmer, look at me. There is not one single drop of blood upon me, but I cannot talk for my best friend, the stag." The farmer looked. Stags do not eat sheep. And when he looked, there he could see that there was blood on the stag's mouth, lips, cheek and tongue, and upon his hooves and upon all of his fur. And the farmer took his great club and he whacked that stag and killed him dead. And to make things worse, for letting him know, the farmer gave the puma sweet, creamy milk to drink. The puma's smile was sly and thin, and he padded and pawed and clawed his way all the way back to the other animals. But when they saw that the stag was not with him, no one else would travel with him. No one except for the curious monkey. My friend Pan, my friend Puma, I would like to go with you. I have heard that you have said there is creamy milk. I would like to go with you. Can I go with you? The puma did not really want to go with the monkey because he thought that he would look like a fool. But with no one else, the two of them walked side by side. Do it with me. The puma with his strong shoulders and back and his pads and his paws and his claws, and the monkey by his side. And when they came to the river, the puma spoke again. My friend monkey, I think that this water here is not very deep. You can go across. Oh no, said the monkey. You could go first, and I will watch just to make sure. The puma jumped in the water, and quicker than a wink, put your hands like this, quicker than a wink or a blink of an eye, the monkey jumped on his back. The puma had to swim with the monkey upon his back, and he pulled through the waves, and when he got to the other side, he was tired. Oh, friend Puma, when shall we get the creamy milk? Oh, perhaps we will have to rest in a tree. You can rest at the bottom. "Oh no," said the monkey. "I can climb to the top quicker than a wink or a blink of an eye." "Oh, you are very good. Quicker than a wink or a blink of an eye. I shall stay at the top. But now I need to go to sleep." And the monkey closed one eye. And the monkey closed its other eye and pretended to go to sleep. The puma, when he heard him snoring, crept and crawled, slipped and slithered, and went and jumped upon a sheep, caught it and killed it, and made sure there was no blood upon his fingernails or on his fur, and he came back with a bowl of blood. He came back. He was just about to try and tip the blood all over the monkey when the monkey woke up. "Friend Puma, how are you? It's good to see you. How are things? How are you? How is your mother, your father, your sister, your cousins, your brothers? How are you? Have you been anywhere? How are you? Are you all right? It's lovely to see you." And he kept on talking and talking and talking and talking. And soon the sun came up, and the puma could not put the blood on the monkey. The monkey said, "Oh, are you all right? It's good to see you. I really like the things that you tell me. You've told me some very good stories. I really do like you." And oh, look over there. There is the farmer coming. And he took that bowl of blood as the puma looked over his shoulder and tipped it up. And it covered the puma from the top of his head to the tips of his claws, from the top of his head to the tip of his tail. And the farmer came there with his great club. Are you ready? And he whacked the puma. "I knew it was you." "Yes," said the monkey. "He was always going to steal your sheep." "I wonder," repeat Anne, "I wonder. I have travelled such a long way with my friend the puma, who now unfortunately is dead. Could I please have some creamy sheep's milk?" The farmer, of course, said yes. The monkey, with each drink of the milk, do it with me, with each drink of the milk, made a smile upon his teeth, upon his lips, but the biggest of the smiles was the creamy milk upon his lips and teeth and jaw, and there he was as a good monkey, tall and strong. Show me. Tall and strong, and he had made a fool of the puma. Give yourselves a round of applause. Well done.